Hey everyone, Retire on Dividends here. Back to make another update to Rec Share Funds, FEPI, and AIPI, or FEPI EPI. So first, big week or big 2 weeks of interviews. One of, the interviews I'm pretty excited about is the one with Scott Achichek from Rec Shares. Again, I don't see him often getting interviewed, so I'm pretty pumped about this one. Obviously, live community interview. It's going to happen this Friday at 5 p.m. right after work. Start the weekend nice with a nice interview, so hopefully you all can attend. All right, so let's go to the Rec Shares website before we get into the spreadsheet. So what funds do they offer, right? So if we're getting, Rec Shares on the YouTube, then obviously they do have Rec Shares covered call ETFs, FEPI, and AIPI. So we can always ask him, what other funds do they plan on launching? And they have a crap load of leverage funds. They recently launched a 2x leverage fund of MSTR. I know I told everyone that they're offering t-shirts if you email Scott McKenna, actually. The email's on my Discord, but if you email him, you can get a free t-shirt. I'm not sure if everyone saw that, but it was in the Rec Share channels. So if you jump in the Discord, you'll see that. And then, so there's a bull and bear leverage fund for all of these, right? Most of these, I'll say, which is pretty crazy. And then, outside of that, it's just information and, generically. And since I have this up here, you might as well pull this up. So if we go to ETF providers and let's try to, is Rec Shares on here? Hopefully somewhere. Rex micro sectors. What the hell is that? Rex, probably further down, right? Not sure how big their funds are. They shouldn't be this far down. Rex, is it Rex? Rex microsectors. No. All right, I cannot find them unless we type Rex. Let's see what comes up. Well, if we click that, well, it won't let me zoom out. Rex, it just comes up under Rex, it looks like. So let's just type Rex and see if we can find Rex. Yeah. All right, so I can't find it. Obviously, I could find the individual, but I love using this website to see how big some of their funds are comparably to their other funds. But okay, anyway, let's get to the spreadsheet. So first, we're going to cover FEPI. FEPI is, this came out, let's see, when was their first payment? November of 23. They have been paying a 25% yield since November of 23. Their latest distribution was paid out on August 28th. They paid $1.08 at the time. The ETF was priced at 51.36. So yet again, a 25% yield, which is pretty damn good. Return of capital, I am showing it's all return of capital. It's 100% return of capital for every single payment. How the hell is that 100.06? Oh, okay. Whatever. This is, let's do this. There you go. So if you go to the website, and you go to the 19.1A notices, which I'll show you actually since I have it up. You go to click any one of these, you click FEPI and you scroll down and you're curious, okay, are they paying return of capital? And keep in mind, these are estimates. It's not final until the actual annual statement comes out for the end of the fiscal year. But you could see this is for the August payment and it shows how much of the payment was return of capital. Actually, no, this one was 0. Return of capital 0 for the August payment. Let's check out the one prior. 100% return of capital, 100% return of capital, and 100% return of capital. So August payment was actually the first one that did not show as return of capital. In fact, not $1. Wow, interesting. So I have to update the spreadsheet. But like I said, regardless, it doesn't really matter because it's an estimate, right? It says in bold on the bottom, the amounts and sources of the distribution reported in this notice are only estimates and are not being provided for tax reporting purposes. So that's an important note. Again, they can only estimate that it's possible this may or may not be considered return of capital. Why do you care? Because if it's 100% return of capital, then again, you shouldn't have to pay taxes. But again, you have to obviously check with your, tax advisor, but that's how it works. So hopefully, again, I own FEPI, so I'm hoping to not pay the majority of my dividend income from FEPI. I'm hoping I don't owe taxes on it. Again, I don't know about state, but hopefully this applies really to federal, but state, who the hell knows? I live in a tax-hungry state, so they could probably give two craps about that. Who knows? All right, so let me adjust this. Estimated ROC is now 0. First month is 0. Okay, so that's interesting. Why are the other months return of capital? Real quick, I'll just explain. And it's because they do not sell their shares. They own the underlying stock. And they sell covered calls, left and right, here and there. And, if they end up paying, back any at a loss, then obviously that loss can get applied to the distributions that are paid. However, you see the fund going up. How is that possible? Well, that's because they physically own the shares and they're not selling them. Since they're not selling them, there's no capital gains that they have to apply to, to basically, add towards income. Obviously, they have to, buy and sell their underlyings in order to keep this properly allocated, but maybe not enough, well, at least until now, that had to require it to be be return of capital. I did also update the remainder of the calendar for the year. So again, declaration date typically towards the end of the month. And I assume FEPI wants no part of this weekly payment crap, hopefully, but time will tell. All right, so let's go to the price information for FEPI. So as many of you know, we talked about it before, FEPI launched around October 11th. They launched at a price of $51.69. So FEPI's price went anywhere from 56 and then it goes down to the 40s somewhere here. So it's pretty solid, right? $47 it went down to, 48, and then it recovered. As of September 20th, it's at $51.35. So if you look at the launch price, $51.69, and then you look at today or Friday as of the close, September 20th as of the close, $51.35, right? Capital loss only 34 cents. So that's a loss or capital loss of 0.66%. So they are essentially capital flat. Why is that awesome? Well, because as you saw, they are paying a distribution of 25% on an annualized basis. So it's clear based on their strategy that they can do this and stay capital flat. It's been proven, right? They're doing it right now. It's essentially been almost a year and they've been performing. Total dividends paid to date, $11.48. That's a 22% yield. Total return, capital plus dividends, 11.14. Total return percentage, 21.55%. Of course, this is, without DRIP. If you did DRIP, then your return will be a lot higher. All right, so now what we do is we go to the holdings, right? So we go to the tab that says September 21st. Obviously, that's when I did the export, but the export should be as of the close September 20th. So what I do is I export it as Excel, and then I throw it on here. And then you could see, okay, here's the holdings and here's the weightings. FEPI owns Tesla, Apple, Meta, AMD, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Salesforce, NVIDIA, Alphabet, Amazon, Adobe, Microsoft, Micron, Netflix, Intel. And then they have a crap load of cash. And then, of course, treasuries. So, yes, and they are equally weighted. If you look, 6%, 6%, 6%. So they must have just done the allocation because it's pretty damn close. And these funds that they own, mostly, tech funds. But if you look at these, you typically say, okay, I can sleep at night, right? Apple, no brainer, right? NVIDIA, no brainer. Tesla's like love, hate, but more people love Tesla than hate for sure. Microsoft, no brainer. Netflix, I mean, who's touching Netflix? I mean, I don't know about Intel, but you get what I'm saying. And then down below here, you can see the holdings. These are the covered calls, right? So they sell calls. All of these calls expire on October 18th, by the way. So, they sell calls on the shares and they make money, lots and lots of money. Their total net assets total 386 million. Outstanding shares 7,555,000. The NAV shows 5123. So if we compare the outstanding shares this month to the prior month, we always want to see the growth, right? We go here, we scroll over. They had 7, so they jumped up about what, 250,000, right? Yeah, a little more. And then from prior to that, bigger jump from prior to that. So, they may be plateauing. I don't know. I feel like FEPI has a huge fan base, and people don't, although they don't talk about it because they're not the high yield. They are high yield, but they're not high yield. So they don't get the love and appreciation that they should. But the people that bought into them typically are staying with them, and rightfully so. They are happy with this fund and the fund's performance. All right, so what I do here is I take all of the covered calls. I got a little fancy formula. It pulls the ticker. It tells the ticker's name. It shows the strike price in column J, the current price of the underlying, and then how far out of the money based on the current price. And then, of course, their 30-day IV. So first one, Microsoft, right? So Microsoft, obviously, they're selling covered calls on Microsoft. They have a strike price of 460. That current position is 5.68% out of the money. We saw an expiration date of October 18th, so it's less than a month away. Which, again, with a fund like Microsoft, it's a little less volatile. You see the IV, it's 19%. That's nothing. So it's probably not going to move much. You never know. Like if they had earnings, of course, there's bigger possibility. And it is tech after all, so anything can happen. So if we look at Amazon, their strike 200, current price 191. They are 4.38% out of the money. And again, when you sell covered calls, typically you win, right? You win when the underlying price does not go above your current price. If the current price goes above their strike price on the call, they have to cash settle that difference, hence adding to the losses, which they can use to net against the distributions, which would be considered return of capital. So going down the line, most of these are pretty much out of the money. Salesforce a little tight, 1.2% out of the money. Intel, 5% out of the money. Apple, pretty close, 0.79% out of the money. Then we get down to here, Broadcom, they're in the money. 0.64% in the money. Not by much, but I've seen much, much worse. So they are actually doing rather well. Their average percent out of the money is 3.4%. So let's take a look at that compared to the previous month. Previous month, their average was 1.86% out of the money. And before that, their average was, what the hell is it? What in the hell? Oh, this formula. Well, I can't. Sorry. Yeah, I can't use the prior months because the current price is always going to update. I need to lock in those formulas as at. But regardless, 3.4% out of the money for 1 month overall. I'll take it. If you want an idea of the 30-day IV and what's high and what's low, the darkest color is the highest. So Intel currently has the highest IV, well, outside of Tesla. Tesla is 62%. Intel has 59%. I believe there is some talk of someone buying them. So maybe that's why Intel's high. I'm not sure. Micron is at 58%. That's also pretty high. AMD, 43%. So they got a lot. NVIDIA, 45%. Netflix, 40%. A lot of implied volatility, which is really, really good. It balances out the lowers. It makes it a pretty overall stable fund. And that's proven, you know, from how they've been doing. I mean, you can't beat it. 30-day IV average, 37%. Because again, if you look at the dividends, I have the ETF price here. As of declaration, the first declaration, they were at 55. And then they went down to 51. So 55 on November 24th. When did they launch? They launched at 51. Yeah, okay. So they launched in October around 51. And then they did jump up to 55 in November. Okay. And then, you know, they were kind of around 55 for a while. But either way, it looks like 50 is the sweet spot. But that's how much they launched at. So again, if they could stay capital flat and continue to pay 25% dividends each and every month, then this is a fund that is perfect for a high yielding portfolio. I mean, my goal is to yield 40%, which, yes, I know it's aggressive. However, I will gladly take this and leave this in my portfolio. And they're doing well. Now, as far as FEPI is concerned, we know FEPI. We love FEPI. It's awesome. What about AIPI? No one talks about them. What about AIPI? We think no one talks about FEPI. No one talks about AIPI. They're a newer fund, right? They came out not that long ago. They have a similar strategy to FEPI. And they own similar stocks. However, they're more AI-driven stocks. So if we take a look here, how long have they been paying? Only since July. So they paid 2 payments so far, $1.48 and $1.46, and their yield is 34%. So just like FEPI pays 25% a month, it looks like AIPI is going to pay 34% a month. Return of capital, I did not log that, but we can go to the website together. We go to, obviously, Rex website, click this, and we go to covered call ETFs, and we click AIPI. And then you go down and you find the 19A1 notices. You click that. So there should be 2 notices. All right, here's the first one, July. $1.48 payment is 100% return of capital. Okay, interesting. And then in September, right? No, I'm sorry, this is August. So July and August payment. Yeah, okay. So July was 100% and August is 0. Okay, so similar to FEPI. So we'll go back here and we put the full $1.48 return of capital right there. And then we go here and we plug in 0. Okay, again, just an estimate. We'll see what happens though when all said and done. But again, a 34% yield, pretty damn solid. How about price? How have they been performing since inception? Looks like they incepted around June and their price was around $50.67. Let's see how it's been doing. Dun, 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 dun. We go all the way down to September 20th, and they are at $50.41. So launch price $50.67, today $50.41, capital depreciation 26 cents, only down 0.51%. That's nothing. That is nothing. Total dividends from inception, $2.94. That paid about 5.8%. Total return, $2.68, taking dividends plus capital. Total return percentage, 5.28%. Again, this is without DRIP, of course. This is just collecting the dividends as cash if you bought from inception. So similar to FEPI, a solid performing fund so far. Again, this one much newer, so less of a track record, but so far so good. And I did the same thing. I did an export directly from the website, and I can go through their holdings real quick. So who do they own? They own ARM Holdings, NVIDIA, CrowdStrike, Palantir, Broadcom, Arista Networks, AMD, Cadence Designs, Intel, Meta Platforms, Amazon, Microsoft, Datadog, Alphabet, IBM, Cisco, Apple, Micron, Adobe. I'm not saying it. PANW. That's all I'm saying. You guys yell at me every time. Qualcomm, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Super Microcomputer, and Synopsys Inc. So those are all of their holdings. Again, what is their allocation? Their allocation is sloppy as hell. Holy crap. Let me shrink this. My son's awake. His room's right above the garage, and he's stomping away playing his video games. So look at this. What the hell? ARM Holdings. Obviously, they're due for an allocation pretty soon. ARM Holdings is 11%. NVIDIA, 11%. CrowdStrike, 11%. So that means since they bought their holdings, these funds have grown. And obviously, look at these. Oh my God, 3%, 3%. So, not equally weighted at the moment. Synopsys, what the hell happened to them? 0.4% weighting. So this is interesting. Obviously, there needs to be an update on that. Okay, so down below, they have the covered calls. They'll have a covered call for every single fund. And then, we could see what's going on. So, yeah, lots of them, man, lots. All right, so let's just take a look at the net assets. This is a $41 million fund. Total outstanding shares, 825,000. The NAV is at 5013. All right, so total outstanding shares, 825,000. What was last month? Last month was 575,000. So yes, there's some growth here, which, it's pretty good. Now, if we look at the covered call information, again, I got the formulas here, they're plugging in. We can see how they're doing. I didn't make the fancy shading on the 30-day IV. I probably should have. But you start with PanW, out of the money, 5.84%. Qualcomm, 9.52% out of the money. So doing pretty damn good so far. And then we get to Amazon. Amazon is in the money, unfortunately, 0.84% in the money. Again, we don't want these to be in the money because they'll have to cash settle. What is the expiration date? October 18th. So they do have time, but they will have to cash settle should these covered calls expire in the money. Arista Networks, 3.76% in the money. Micron's in the money as well, 0.99%. CrowdStrike is 3.28% in the money. And then ServiceNow, 1.85% in the money. So, there's more. Wow, they have a lot of calls. But as you can see, anyway, whatever's highlighted is in the money. Whatever's not is still out of the money. So it's a mix, overall blend, but overall they are out of the money, 2.52% out of the money with a little less, than a month to go. So we'll see how those develop. 30-day IV, they got any powerhouses here? Let's see. Pretty good balance. Their overall implied volatility should be higher than FEPI, but I don't believe it was this time. We'll take a look. All right, so Micron or AMD 43%, Micron 58%, Intel 59%, ARM Holdings 59%, Super Microcomputer very volatile 66% IV there. Micron Technologies 58%, and yeah. So 30-day IV averaged 35%. Let's go to FEPI. So FEPI at this very moment is showing a higher average implied volatility. So that is quite, that's weird. But I don't think that's going to be the case. It maybe just be how it's set up and what kind of covered calls they own. But if that's the case, these should be more than likely yielding the same amount. Or maybe FEPI, we can expect, I don't know, a higher yield. Or maybe that's how they were able to pay not return of capital. I don't know, guys. But it's interesting that AIPI's IV is actually less than FEPI's average IV. But either way, in every time I talk about these funds, I never see anything that is of concern. It's just simple, solid performing covered call fund that works. It just freaking works. Now, personally, I do not own AIPI because, in my opinion, it's just too similar to FEPI, so it's a little overlap. On top of that, it was 100% maintenance, so I could not borrow margin on it. FEPI is 30%, so it's a no-brainer for me to keep FEPI, and FEPI is the one, it started it all. So FEPI is obviously, it's got a sweet spot for me, and it's done very, very well. So, but between both of these funds, since I've been covering both of these funds, again, I have no complaints. So that's why I'm very happy to interview RexShares to see, to get their opinions and thoughts on some things and just see what else they have coming out. That's really what I want to hear. I want to hear another fund coming out that's a little different than these, But the question is, what sector do we want? That's a good question. Let me know in the comments down below if if RexShares were to make another covered call ETF similar to these two, what sector would you want to see that in? I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But, not tech. We got to take a break from tech and AI. We got to take a break. So, we'll see. But tech and AI, that's where the IV is. So we'd have to think about, okay, what do we want? Maybe I don't know. It's a question clearly I can't answer at the moment, but I do want some variation. The yield would be much less, obviously, if they, dig into other sectors, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, as always, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. This video is for fun and entertainment. So hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you're entertained. If not, we will try again next month. Again, will I cover RexShares more often? I would love to. I plan to at some point. And would you guys like to see it covered more often? And if I do cover it, is the way I'm covering it satisfactory, or do you need more detail? And if so, what detail do you need? Because I'm not sure what else I can really do for these funds, because I don't see their trades. And actually, that reminds me, I want to ask them about that. Is there any way that I could see when they do trades or get notified when there is a trade? Could you imagine if it's once a month, like a once a month update, how much they cash settled on the losses, how much they received on the new trades? I would love to cover that. That would be awesome, actually. So I'll have to ask them about that. All right, guys, if you enjoy this content and this update, please hit the like button. If you have any questions or concerns, leave it down in the comments below. If you'd like to support my channel any further, I did throw up a membership option. There's 2 options. You can go take a look. Any video, there's a join button now. You'll see that was not there before, and then it'll show you. But if you don't want to do that, then you could always share the video with your friends and your family. Either way, it's all greatly appreciated, and I thank you for watching the channel. All right, guys, take care and enjoy the rest of your day. Later.